After a long, exhausting day of grocery shopping, I finally pulled into the parking lot of our apartment building. My arms ached from carrying heavy bags, and my feet throbbed from hours of walking through crowded aisles. Yet, as I pushed open the door to our small apartment, a familiar warmth greeted me. The faint scent of the jasmine-scented candle I'd lit the night before still lingered in the air, its soft fragrance wrapping around me like a comforting embrace. For a moment, I felt a flicker of normalcy, a brief reprieve from the chaos that had been swirling through our relationship lately. Things hadn't been easy between me and my fiancé. Arguments had become more frequent, silences more strained, but I clung to a fragile hope that we could still find our way back to the love we once shared. I stepped inside, kicking off my shoes and setting the grocery bags down on the floor. But as I straightened up, an unsettling stillness hit me. The apartment felt too quiet, too empty. I glanced around, expecting to see the usual signs of her presence. Her favorite denim jacket slung carelessly over the back of the chair. Her sneakers kicked off near the door. Maybe even the faint hum of the TV she often left on in the background. But there was nothing. Her jacket was gone. Her shoes were missing. The TV sat dark and silent. A knot twisted in my stomach, a cold, creeping unease that I couldn't shake. I called out her name, my voice cutting through the stillness. "Hey, you home?" No answer. Just the hollow echo of my own words bouncing back at me. That's when I saw it. A napkin on the kitchen counter, crumpled and slightly stained, with her familiar handwriting scrawled across it. I picked it up with trembling fingers and read the brief message. "Out with Mara. Be back later." Mara was her coworker, someone she'd mentioned a few times in passing. A bubbly woman from her office who always seemed to be planning happy hours or group outings. I exhaled, a mix of relief and doubt washing over me. Maybe she was just blowing off steam, catching up with a friend after a long week. Maybe this was a good thing, a chance for her to reconnect with herself outside the tension that had been suffocating us. But deep down, a nagging instinct tugged at me, whispering that something wasn't right. I couldn't ignore it. Drawn by that gut feeling, I found myself drifting toward her laptop, which sat closed on the coffee table. I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the lid. We'd always respected each other's privacy. Never snooping, never prying. But the unease gnawing at me was too strong to resist. I opened it, the screen flickering to life, and typed in her password. It was still the same one she'd used for years, a combination of her childhood dog's name and her birth year. The familiarity of it stung as I logged in and clicked on her messages. What I found hit me like a punch to the chest. There were dozens of conversations, some with Mara, some with other names I didn't recognize, but one thread stood out. A string of texts with a guy named Ethan. My heart pounded as I scrolled through them, each message peeling back another layer of a truth I wasn't ready to face. Flirty banter, inside jokes, plans to meet up after work. And then, buried in the middle of it all, a message from 2 nights ago. "Can't wait to see you again. Last time was incredible." My hands shook as I read it, the words blurring through a haze of tears I didn't even realize were forming. There were more, photos, late-night texts, a casual intimacy that made it clear this wasn't just a friendship. She'd been cheating on me, and from the looks of it, it had been going on for weeks, maybe longer. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at the screen, letting the reality sink in. The woman I'd loved, the one I'd planned a future with, had betrayed me. The engagement ring I'd given her, a simple gold band with a small diamond I'd saved months to afford, felt like a cruel joke now. I thought about confronting her, demanding answers, screaming until my voice gave out. But instead, a strange calm settled over me. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to hear her excuses. I just wanted it to be over. I walked to my dresser and pulled out the little velvet box where I'd kept her ring after she'd taken it off during a fight last month. She'd said she didn't want to wear it until we figured things out, and I'd held on to it, hoping we'd get there. Now it felt heavy in my hand, a symbol of a promise that no longer existed. I decided then and there that I'd return it to her. Not with words, not with a scene, but quietly on my terms. I grabbed my keys and drove through the city, the streets buzzing with life around me. Couples walked hand in hand, their laughter floating through the air, their happiness a stark contrast to the ache in my chest. I passed coffee shops and parks, watching people lean into each other, sharing smiles and stolen kisses. Each sight twisted the knife deeper, reminding me of what I was losing, what I'd already lost. I didn't have a plan, just a vague idea of leaving the ring somewhere she'd find it, a final goodbye to the life we'd built together. And then I saw her. I'd pulled up to a stoplight near a cozy little bar downtown, when I spotted her through the window. She was sitting at a table near the glass, her head thrown back in laughter, her hand resting casually on the arm of a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, dark-haired, leaning in close as he spoke, his smile wide and easy. My breath caught in my throat. It was her, the woman I'd loved, and she looked happier than I'd seen her in months. The sight of them together, so comfortable, so intimate, sliced through me like a blade. I parked across the street and sat there, gripping the steering wheel, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to storm in, to throw the ring at her feet, and watch her face as she realized I knew. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I took a deep breath, steadying myself, and stepped out of the car. I walked into the bar, the hum of conversation and clinking glasses washing over me. She didn't see me. Her back was to the door, her attention fully on him. I slipped the ring out of my pocket, set it on the edge of the bar counter near the entrance, and turned to leave. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was just done. When I got back home, I expected to feel crushed, hollowed out by grief. But instead, an unexpected peace settled over me. I stood in the doorway of our apartment, my apartment now, and let the silence wrap around me. It felt strange, almost liberating, like a weight I'd been carrying for months had finally lifted. I realized I didn't want to cling to someone who'd already let go. I didn't want to fight for a love that wasn't mine anymore. The days that followed were a blur of small adjustments. I started sorting through our shared life, untangling myself from her. I cooked dinner alone that first night, chopping vegetables in a quiet kitchen, the absence of her chatter a noticeable void. I ate at the table by myself, staring at the empty chair across from me, and let the stillness sink in. I stopped saying her name out loud, letting it fade from my vocabulary like a habit I was breaking. I logged into our shared streaming accounts and removed her profile, deleted old photos from my phone, and packed away the little mementos, ticket stubs, a scarf she'd left behind, that had once meant something. Each step felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. As time passed, I began to see how broken things had been, even before the cheating came to light. Our relationship had been eroding for months, cracks forming in the foundation that neither of us had wanted to acknowledge. There was no need for a confrontation, no need to hash out the details of her betrayal. The silence between us, the way we'd stopped reaching for each other, said more than any argument ever could. I found comfort in that quiet acceptance, in letting go without a fight. I started to enjoy my own company, something I hadn't done in years. I took long walks in the evenings, listening to music, or just the sound of the city around me. I picked up hobbies I'd let slip, reading books I'd meant to finish, sketching in a notebook I'd abandoned. I cooked meals I liked, not worrying about her preferences, and ate them on the couch with a movie playing in the background. Solitude stopped feeling like loneliness and started feeling like freedom. One evening, weeks later, I stood in the kitchen, washing dishes and looking out the window at the skyline. I thought about the future, not with fear or bitterness, but with a quiet curiosity. Maybe I'd meet someone new someday, someone who'd see me the way I'd once hoped she would. Or maybe I'd just keep building a life for myself, growing into the person I wanted to be. Either way, I felt a spark of hope, a gentle promise that I was no longer tethered to the past. I was free to move forward, to carve out a path that was mine alone. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough.